All right, so we are back. Welcome back to the Cognition School Podcast. My name is Satoshi Takano. I'm the founder of ReactForge here in Toronto, and it is now June the 2nd, so we're already halfway into 2025. So today we have an incredibly special guest. I've been looking forward to this for a while now. So we have Ryan Straschnitzki. And we got connected via Instagram as I always have been in the last little while. And Ryan is actually someone that I've wanted to bring onto this podcast for a number of different reasons. One, obviously, being in sports, and secondly, Ryan's got an incredibly inspirational story, and obviously the adversity of adversities, and we'll dig a little bit deeper into that as well. But welcome, Ryan, to the Cognition School Podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So the one thing I definitely want to get a kind of set a tone, which is understanding where you kind of came from. You're based in Calgary right now. That's your home?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yep.
Calgary.
So right out of the gate, if you can maybe kind of give us a glimpse of who you are and some of your background, that would be great.
Sure. So I grew up playing hockey here in Calgary for the Simons Valley Association and made my way up the ranks. I didn't necessarily play at some of the highest levels as a kid, but as time went on and I started developing and working on my craft outside of the rink, started playing at the AAA level for the Airdrie Extreme. I played AAA for the U15 Avalanche doesn't exist anymore. And then afterwards, I went to go play midget AAA for the Leduc Oil Kings. I got released from my home club, Strathmore Bisons. They're not around anymore, but I got released to go play in Leduc for a couple of years. We won our league that year, went to TELUS Cup, and then I got recognized by the Medicine Hat Tigers and the Whitecourt Wolverines. And I ultimately wanted to go play college hockey. So I went to Whitecourt. And after 3 games of playing for the Wolverines, I got traded to Humboldt to play for the Humboldt Broncos. And then on April 6th of 2018, our team bus collided with a semi-truck. And as a result, I have a spinal cord injury, but that's allowed me to find opportunity and potentially pursue the Paralympics in sport.
That's fantastic. And what I love about your story is where you are now, compared to, the August 6th, 2018. Tell us a little bit about that, because I was so 2018, that would have been 7 years ago now ish, right? I remember it, on the news, so I only saw it from, obviously, from the media perspective. Tell us a little bit of that experience. I'm sure you've explained this over and over again, but tell us for our audience in terms of what went through kind of that day.
Yeah, so it was just like any other game day. We're going into game 5 in the semifinals against a team called the Nipawin Hawks. And then we were on our way to Nipawin, and all of a sudden, just, a crash came from the right side and everything was sort of black. And I remember waking up, and my first instinct was just to get up, and I go to move and I'm kind of stuck, and I'm looking at my legs and they're not responding. So instantly, something's wrong. All I can do is kind of wait and, can't move, going in and out of consciousness. I have other injuries from my lungs and my ribs and my head. And so, yeah, in that moment, you don't know if you're going to make it out of it. And then paramedics arrived. I got taken to a hospital and then placed in an emergency helicopter where I got flown to the U of S hospital in Saskatoon, taken through a bunch of tests. And then I was told that I would have a spinal cord surgery afterwards. And I didn't know the extent of what that meant. I mean, maybe I thought the doctors were going to fix everything, but I woke up and yeah, just still unresponsive. I didn't know what was next in life, but it was pretty scary moment.
Yeah, and in terms of the actual kind of the day, I mean, I don't even know how to ask these questions, because it's definitely like a dark day within all of our lives at that time. Like, what was going through your head? Like, so you're going in and out of consciousness. How long were you in that bus for?
No, so essentially what I was told is that when the initial collision happened, I got launched from the bus, which resulted in me having the spinal injury the way I landed. But I remember being outside of the scene and kind of looking at all the mayhem and debris and things in front of me, and not being able to do anything for myself, and you're kind of panicking. You have all these mix of emotions, and you honestly don't know if you're making it out of it. So all you can do is kind of wait. And yeah, there's so many different things going on. Like, I mean, physically, mentally, spiritually, if you will. Yeah, you don't know what's going to happen next.
Yeah, and obviously you have a very supportive family around you to be able to do that for you. What was kind of going through their minds?
Yeah, I mean, they were terrified. They weren't sure the extent of everything that had happened, whether teammates, coaching staff, myself, and they were just sort of panicked, and their first instinct was just to get to me, right, and find me at the hospital, and they did just that, and they flew out like right away.
Yeah, and the extent of the injuries. I read here that you had a unique surgery done. Is that true?
Yeah, so I had a spinal cord surgery done. I had everything, tubes and stuff. But I think
Right.
surgery that you're referring to is something that happened a couple years after, a year and a half after, where I went
Right.
all the way to Thailand to pursue this experimental surgery that was giving people with spinal cord injuries the use of muscle function below their injuries. And so I pursued it. And how it works is they implant a tiny electrode on the T10 vertebrae, which is in the lower back, which is then attached to a battery pack on either your left or right side. It sends electrical currents to the electrode through the back over top of the brake to the brain in order to regain some function. And so I had it done, and I started having movement, which is something I didn't have before. So it helped me remain hopeful for the future.
That's great. That's great. Obviously, that's with all the advent of science and with the innovations that's happening now. I'm glad that it's definitely helping you. How does it feel since?
It's good. I mean, I use it every day when I'm training or playing sports. I try to use it as much as possible to keep the legs healthy and use it to my advantage.
Yeah, and you played para ice hockey. Is that right?
Yeah, so I played right away 4 months after the accident. I got on the ice in a sled, and being a competitive athlete, I thought, well, how far can I take this? And so my pursuit now was to play in the Paralympics for Team Canada. And after about 2 years, I made the national program at the development level and went to lots of camps and tryouts. And then eventually at the Paralympic tryouts, I ended up getting cut. And instead of looking at that as a negative and feeling sorry for myself, I decided, okay, well, what's the next step? That was eventually wheelchair basketball.
Tell me about that. I obviously I know basketball, but I don't quite know, wheelchair basketball. Like what's that like?
It's cool. I mean, I didn't play a lot of basketball growing up. I mean, I shot hoops, but the rules are kind of the same. There's a couple different changes, and then there's a like an equal playing field because there's this thing called a point system in which, depending on your ability, you're given either a 4.5, which is the highest, or a 1, or it goes in 0.5 increments upwards depending on your ability. So I play as a 1.0 level, which is the lowest you can be. So your role is different than a 4.5, who's going to be your top skill guy who can move like crazy in a chair and get most of your points. You're trying to set them up. So learning the sport has been the toughest challenge, and also trying to like keep up as like physically to some of the guys that have been playing for 20 plus years, like almost longer than I've been alive, right? Some of these guys have been on the national team for 20 plus years, and so it's a big catch up game, but a big learning curve.
I've seen some highlights, I think, where like these guys get super competitive.
Oh yeah, it's then you're allowed physical contact with the chairs. Like you can bump them, you can flip them. It's sky's the limit.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, so you're shooting for the 2028
Yep,
Olympics?
in LA.
Yeah. That's LA, right? That's great. That's great. And what has been kind of some of your struggles? Like obviously, kind of learning the game and such, but what are some of the other kind of challenges that you come up against?
Just the physical challenges, trying to condition myself and try to put in the work wherever I can. I mean, like I said, it's a catch up game, so it's like all the time you spend on the court is fantastic, but what are you going to do outside of the court that people aren't willing to do, that's going to set you apart? And that's watching game film. That's I don't know how much you believe in like the meditation and manifestation and visualizing a lot, like the idea of visualizing yourself putting in the work and writing things down, just doing whatever I can to improve off the court so that when I come back, I'm better than I was the day before.
And what kind of physical training do you go through?
So I'm in the gym about 4 days a week, and it ranges from strength training to mobility to conditioning. So the goal here is to try to tackle as many elements as we can as far as training. So for me, being in a sports chair, keeping your shoulders healthy is great and huge, but having to be like strong, powerful, and quick is what wheelchair basketball is all about. So a lot of conditioning for the shoulders.
Wow. And any kind of transferability from some of your hockey days in basketball?
Absolutely. I think having played years and years of hockey, you understand pathways, you understand plays, you can read, you can learn your teammates, right? Learn how they play, learn what they like, how can you best support the team with what you know, and that's some nuanced ideas that not a lot of people know in the parasport world because they don't really have a background except that sport maybe. And coming from a different background, I have that ability, I think, to read plays or anticipate or use that to my advantage to help the team in some way.
And how do you find it different than the pair ice hockey?
I think the classification helps a lot because you're able to like compete and play at a high level versus like sled hockey. There's no classification, so basically they'll take a guy who's got an amputation, who has less body weight, who can use his full body, and he's going to be faster and stronger, and more powerful. Versus me with no core muscles, so you can't balance. You're just going to be slower and just kind of not be able to keep up. So there's nothing I could have done about it. But I guess with basketball, there's an equal playing field.
Yeah, and as far as like your where you have feeling now, like where's that relative to your body now?
So it's at the T1 level, which is about an inch above the nipple line on the chest. So anything below that doesn't function, and I can't feel anything.
Mm.
There's a lot more things to watch out for, but I didn't really understand the extent of it until I tried balancing. Like, it's hard to imagine because you're always using your core, whether you think about it or not. So for me, having to use every other small muscle of balance was really hard in sled hockey and even daily life. Right? Can if something happens, if I go to lean to pick something up, I could potentially fall over because I just don't
Mm.
have the core to like lift myself up and hold myself stable.
Right, right. And I've seen you play golf too. So tell me about that.
Yeah, so I play a lot of golf as well. I mean, that was my second favorite thing to do in the summers, and so I got introduced to this golf machine called a Paragolfer, in which it helps me stand up. It has braces and kind of straps that hold me in so I don't fall over. And then I basically golf one arm because it gives me the most range of motion. And when I hit the ball, I can go sit down and drive around as if I'm in a golf cart to get to my ball and continue to play with friends and family. It was such a cool experience. I'm glad I'm playing it and getting better at least.
And I'm sure you've probably beaten a lot of guys too that are, walking and
A couple.
playing normal golf, right?
Golf's one of those things you can never be too good, but yeah, I've gotten better.
Is there like a tour or some kind like that's also available to you?
Yeah, there's adaptive golf tournaments kind of all over the world. It's not really promoted out in the world that much, but I know there's a lot of tournaments where there's like a seated division, a blind division, an amputee division. There's so many divisions, and it's hopefully, I think they're making a bid for 2032 in the Olympics or the Paralympics. So hopefully keep working on that, and who knows, I might be a Paralympic golfer.
What do you shoot? I'm just curious.
On average, like my handicap this year, I've only played a couple rounds, so it's hard to tell, but my handicap's around 12.
That's
So, shooting
that's good.
different. I mean, I play a little different because the adaptive rules are a little different, but I mean, I'm
Oh,
still
okay, okay.
just a little bit above 80.
Again, this is brand new to me, right? But like, how do you putt? Like, you're allowed to take the the
Y-
device onto the greens as well?
Yeah, the wheels are nice and thick. They don't leave marks, and as long as you're not ripping donuts in there, right, you're not going to tear up the green. So that's probably the hardest thing too. Is with the putting, you want to be lined up perfectly, and with this machine, if you're not lined up perfectly, you got to kind of sit down, move, adjust. So it does take a while.
Right, right.
Yeah, I mean, it's I'm lucky to have it.
Yeah. And how else are you keeping yourself busy other than your basketball and training and such?
Yeah, I mean, I work as well. I do a lot of keynote speeches where I share my story to schools and businesses and travel around kind of North America for that stuff, which is always keeping me busy. I just finished filming a TV show called We Were Broncos, where it's kind of a docu series where it follows me around, and then every Monday for the next 5 Mondays there'll be a new episode dropping, and hopefully get approved to continue filming this docu series. And then on the side as well, I run a charity organization called the Straz Foundation, in which we aim to raise funds to give back to those living with disabilities the opportunity to pursue adaptive sports, whether at the Paralympic level or recreationally. And then we also want to provide some inexpensive rehabilitation because, it goes beyond sport. The rehab and taking care of your body is just as important.
And I think the foundation is amazing because obviously, you've been through it, you understand what people go through, the ups and the downs, right? And obviously, mental health, I'm sure, is a big part of like even your day to day, right? Just trying to stay positive and trying to help other people. Like, what are some of the things that you do kind of when you get those low moments? And I'm sure we all do, right? How do you handle that today?
Yeah, I mean, I had to kind of learn this the hard way by going through those low moments and, kind of giving myself a sense of direction, right? And I find if I'm not aiming towards anything, then I'm going to be kind of hopeless and lost. And feel kind of anxious maybe. So I gave myself some direction with the charity, with business, with sport. Like there's always something you can do, whether big or small, towards that goal. So once I had a sense of direction and actually started putting in the work, I started feeling better and got out of those low moments a lot easier.
Do you work with anybody to kind of help you with your day-to-day mental health and stuff as well?
Once in a while, I'll go speak to a therapist, but as far as like the cognitive mental performance, I don't. Could be something beneficial to help me reach that Paralympic goal, but I think I would encourage people to, if they can, to do it.
Yeah. And as far as the foundation goes, like, has it been around for a while now, or is this something that's relatively new?
We just got charity status 2 years ago, so this will be our second year as a registered charity. We're starting to bring in the right people. We're starting to hopefully bring in more funds, and as we're making donations to individuals and communities, we're also starting to film documentaries around it, so people know that their money's going to a good place. And so we'd encourage people to check it out and help us out and be a part of the Straz Strong family.
And how do people donate to the charity?
So if they go to strazstrongfoundation.com, there's a donate button. There's updates on all the charity events that we have going on. We're doing a charity golf tournament this August. Yeah, we're always looking for ways to raise funds.
Yeah. I think it's great because, having gone through some of the challenges that you've gone through, I'm always thinking about, like, how do we, kind of help support each other. And, like, your story, I think, is fascinating. So my son went to Notre Dame, right? Like, to me, like, Saskatchewan is kind of near and dear, and some of the I relate to a lot of what's going on with yourselves and the hockey community. Again, for me, it's just being able to spread the goodness of some of the efforts of yourself and many others. And I know that there's other folks that were actually on that bus as well. That I forget the gentleman's name now, but we're also connected on Instagram. But yeah, I think hockey is one way to kind of bring us together, and obviously the ups and the downs of any hockey career in general. But any kind of, like, words for folks that have faced adversity, like, even in the hockey community, right? Like, let's say they got cut from a team, and we saw a lot of that in the last couple of weeks because of tryouts, especially in the GTHL here, minor hockey. Any kind of words for them on facing adversity and being able to come back?
Yeah, I mean, I my whole life revolved around getting cut consistently, and what I was always told and what I learned is like, no matter what, you continue to put in the work. Like even when nobody's watching, it's when you put in even more work, and then you come back and surprise people and shock them. Right? It should be used as motivation to get better. And I've always found too that it's a you have to learn from it. Right? You're thinking, okay, well, maybe you're thinking, oh, the coach doesn't like me, it's his fault, it's this and that, but it's you can kind of look inward and think, okay, well, what do I need to work on? Right? There's obviously something there that I didn't fit in with the team. What can I do to be a better hockey player? So there's learning moments and motivation and drive, but no matter what, continue to put in the work wherever it's needed, because eventually it will pay off and someone will find you if you're good enough.
And I think it's interesting that in your case too, and in my son's as well, after a certain age, obviously you kind of have to make a bigger decision, right? Do you continue with hockey or do you continue with something else? Any kind of words that you have of encouragement for those that think, you know what, maybe it's that about that time where I kind of hang up my skates and look at something else as well.
Yeah, you're gonna hit a time, right? Like where again you have to make that decision. It's super hard, but you almost have to learn to accept and realize, there's more to life than just sport. I mean, sport has provided many opportunities and memories and has done a lot, but I think moving on to the next stages of life is just as important. And I've known a lot of people that stay with hockey that maybe should have gone the other way, but it's ultimately their decision. But it's okay to realize that there's more to life than just sport. So be
Yeah.
grateful for the opportunities you've had and the memories that you made. But sometimes it's one of those things you have to accept.
Yeah, I think the be grateful part is huge because, I mean, you're a young guy, and to be able to kind of, come to terms with something where you go, okay, I'm grateful to have this and these experiences, and here's where, yes, something terrible had happened, but I'm gonna do something, much bigger than, myself, to be able to kind of give back. So I really commend you for that because, there's a lot of youths that are out there now that don't think that way, right? There, it's all about, what's it's not enough for me, right? Like, So then you're constantly chasing something, but you forget to be happy and grateful for what you have, and then build on. And I
Exactly.
think, yeah, you've done that brilliantly, because for many of us, we don't feel that until we're like 40 years old, right? Like where you kind of go, wait a minute, I've had all these things in the past, but I really commend you for that. How did you kind of come to terms with that, right? Because obviously, like, I'm just curious, because I'm trying to teach, young athletes now that, they're kind of coming to that end of their junior career. And yeah, maybe they didn't get that NCAA school calling them to say, hey, come play for us on a scholarship. And they have to make a tough decision. But some individuals find it very hard to let that go, right? Because either they're being pressured by their parents to stay in it because the parents have made a significant investment in their career, so they don't want to disappoint the parents, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think mine was a little easier because I knew the extent of my injuries. I knew that hockey probably wasn't going to be my future with my spinal injury. So it was easier to kind of detach that way. But I would recommend for individuals looking to kind of make that next step, if they're, there might be a panic button where they don't know what's next. But I think you can take everything you learn from hockey, of learning how to be in a team environment, the work ethic, the putting in, the effort to make the people around you better, those lessons that you learn from hockey and the network connections you have, teammates and coaches, right? I think utilize those as best as possible, and it will take you further than anything else, than being just a hockey player. I think it teaches you a lot of life lessons that you can apply to the workforce.
Yeah, and it's interesting because you went into from sledge hockey to basketball, right? Like, did you have any? I mean, speaking of networks, like, did you have any people that you knew in that space?
Yeah, so I was training at Winsport in Calgary, where all the Paralympic and Olympic athletes train. And one of the head people there, her husband was actually on the Team Canada wheelchair basketball team. And I mentioned, I'm looking to try something new, and I want to continue to play for or try to aim for the Paralympics. She mentioned that her husband, would be interested in kind of mentoring me. So he put me in the right direction, and that just it snowballed after that. Like, I just by asking a question, I was able to get to where I am now, which is incredible.
And what was that question, like, I mean, that really got you asked? Because I always talk about to athletes, like, the quality questions you ask is the quality of your life.
Yeah, I kind of mentioned it. I started by saying, "This is what I want to do. I want to be a Paralympian, and I'm willing to put in the work. I just don't know what's out there." Like, you're not asking for help, but you're just kind of trying to get a conversation going. And I've found that when you ask, like you said, when you ask questions, you're more likely to get pointed in the right direction versus making a statement. If I said, I'm looking to do this," and they're like, "Great, like, cool," but I'm like, what else is out there? So it wasn't just basketball. She mentioned all these different sports, but basketball stuck out to me because it was a team sport, but it allowed me that opportunity to pursue it even further.
So, and this is probably, all for parents and players as well, that I always try to teach people that you kind of have to keep a very open mind,
Yeah.
that having a world where it's black and white is good in some ways, but at the same time it's limiting, right? So if you don't know about something, just ask,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah, that's exactly what it did. I had no idea what else was out there, if I could even play at certain things. Like, they mentioned a couple things. I'm like, all right, well, thanks for telling me. Now I'm going to go try them. Right now, you try them and you find what you don't do and don't like. And I think putting yourself outside that comfort zone, right? Of, oh, I don't know, it's new. I'm going to be really bad at it, but that's okay. That's part of the process. You got to start somewhere. So getting outside of that comfort zone was important.
Are there any points where you're like, okay, I don't know what I'm doing here. Like, this, I suck at this sport, but right? Like, so
Yeah,
you probably had those moments.
my first A tournament at the top level was my first tournament, first time playing a real game. I had no idea what I was doing out there. I didn't know systems. I was getting yelled at. It was just like all these forms of pressure just coming my way, and to the point where I had to sit on the bench. Right, I was just like, I don't know what I'm doing out there. I'm lost. I'm never gonna get there. And it sucked. Right, so I'm like, okay, well. After that tournament, I learned from it, and I'm like, okay, well, time to start asking questions to the vets that can teach me, that can show me the systems and plays, and watch game film and put in the work. And I'm in a completely different space now than I was when I started.
Do you kind of yell at the younger guys that are coming up now?
Not really. I mean, yeah, maybe like calling out names and stuff, but I don't. Yeah, I'm not in that position yet.
Yeah. Do you find that the chirps are the same or is different than the hockey days?
A little bit, yeah. The chirps are a lot nicer, I find now. Back then.
That's awesome, man. I mean, this has been fantastic, and I really appreciate you coming on. But I got a couple kind of lightning round questions for you, if I may. Yeah. So first one, favorite pump up song pregame.
Uh, Kind of any EDM song. I love remixes. So there's one I've been listening to. It's the Disturbia remix. I can't remember which one it is, but
Oh, yes, yes. Awesome, awesome. One non-sport book that you're reading.
fiction or nonfiction.
I would say it could be both.
Okay, nonfiction. It's called Mindset by Carol Dweck, and it teaches you about the growth mindset, which I think is key to anything in life.
How did you pick up that book?
I so my keynote is revolved around mindset, and I kind of wanted to do research to find out more about it. I just didn't want to tell anecdotal evidence. I wanted to find science based stuff, and I looked online, saw her TED talk, and then read her book, and I'm like, this is exactly what I needed.
That's awesome, man. I grew up with Tony Robbins, so that was my go-to all the time. Still is to this day. Awesome. Last question for you, and I'll let you go. I want you to finish the sentence. Resilience is.
Resilience is, I don't know, persevering through the hard times. I don't know. Like it's almost like never ending. Like it's so cliche to
Mm,
never give up, but it's like continuing to just fight harder and harder and harder. Like whatever word that would be.
that's awesome. No, perseverance is for sure one of those ones. I mean, as you were talking, I was kind of thinking out loud, but it's easy for us to kind of get burnt out, right?
Yeah.
Because we're not achieving the reward right at that moment in time,
Yeah,
right?
and resilience is, like you said, enjoying the process.
During the process. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Ryan, man, this has been awesome. I thank you so much for coming on, and we'll still be in touch for sure. I'd like to bring you on again at some point, and next time you're in town, definitely come by here because I'd love to kind of put you through the test here too.
Yeah, also appreciate that.
Yeah, anytime, anytime. All right. Well, thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. And we'll definitely keep bringing on incredible guests like Ryan because I think these are very inspirational stories. And it's also good for me, too, because, I'm learning a lot. But again, thanks for joining. And Ryan, thanks again for coming on today. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.